Hi everyone, I'm Alex and this is In the Field, the podcast where we talk to industry experts about their stories, their experiences, and the practical lessons they have learned in the field. In this episode, we are going to talk about industrial AI. And joining us today is someone who has been helping manufacturers globally to convert data into AI solutions for years. He leads the AI team at AG Solution, which is a consultancy firm headquartered in Belgium with 16 offices across Europe and the US. His work goes far beyond building AI models. He helps companies to create the data foundations, the governance, and the OT architecture needed to make AI reliable and scalable. And most importantly, he always tries to build solutions that deliver real business value. Please welcome everyone, Ricard Torralba. Hello, Ricard. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Alex. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to join you.
It's a pleasure to have you here, man. It's a pleasure to have you here. Do you want to add anything to the introduction or maybe remove something? Is there anything you want to? No?
No. Actually, it was, you explained it very well. What I do, what we do at AG Solution. And I think, the topic I will be more or less able to handle and to discuss in detail about AI application in manufacturing in the industry. So, looking forward to our conversation.
All right, so let's get on to it. I'd like to kick this off with a lightning round of questions. So the idea is I'm going to make quick questions. I'm looking for quick answers. No overthinking, just say the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah, let's see.
Oh, all right. Early bird or night owl?
Okay. Early bird. I like to start my day early. No emails for at least 2 hours, and I can move things forward. Yeah.
Book or podcast?
Book. I like reading. I like historical novels, for instance. Yeah, I'm a fan of books. So yeah.
All right. ChatGPT or Claude?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a tricky one because I think it depends on what you want to achieve. But I think today it makes more sense to go for Claude. Most of the time, like 70-80% of the times by default, I go for Claude.
All right. Now that we have Fable, right? Finally have Fable. IT or OT?
OT, no doubt here. Yeah.
All right. Remote work or factory floor?
Yeah, factory floor. Yeah, I like to be on the factory floor. I like to really understand where the data is coming from, and you don't really. It's not possible to really understand it from your home. So factory floor. Yeah.
All right. And Gen AI or classic AI? Whatever classic AI means.
Yeah, well, it's difficult today to really. I mean, I think if I have to choose, and also let's say in the scope that we're going to discuss, I would go for a classic AI, and it's also where I started. I started, almost 8 years ago now with my machine learning subject, which I didn't really knew what it meant when I selected that at university, and it was the start of everything we're doing now. So I will go for classic AI.
All right. Okay. Everyone's talking about AI, and obviously we have a podcast that we have to talk about AI. But beyond the hype, what do you see actually happening in the factory floor today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think many things are happening, and probably since in the conversation we're going to also be discussing about what are the challenges and where when we are looking at implementing AI, what are the barriers that we really need to overcome. Maybe I can start by saying that I have seen many successful implementations of AI in the manufacturing field, in the sense that there are some challenges that
All
we
right,
need to
that's
address, and that
something.
we need
Yes.
to because before we get serious into the topic, into the matter, and we start saying this is a problem, we need to tackle this, we need to take care of that, we need to look at the big picture. I want to start by saying it's possible. Technology is ready. The knowledge from the people to apply the required skills are there, and I think in many different cases, the return on investment is obvious. So it's just about finding the let's say putting everything together and finding the right thing to do regarding AI. I think in general in the society we are quite amazed by the potential that AI has, because it's, I mean, you can see it in 30 seconds what it can do, and then that triggers, oh, that's so awesome, I need to apply it not only in my private life but also at work and in every different field. And actually it's also a challenge when we think about AI manufacturing, in the sense that everyone that we talk to, that we try to explain what you can do with AI, with Gen AI, but also with classical AI, whatever that means, we need to, let's say, make or show them the steps that they need to work before really seeing the value, because they probably have Gen AI tool in their phone, they probably have Claude in their phone, they probably have ChatGPT in their phone, and they think, if I have it here, why is it not? It is not possible to actually implement it naturally in the shop floor and really have a value there. So it's important that this hype that there is, and it's a hype that has some it makes sense that there is the hype. It's important that we can really let's say make a natural pipe to be capable of really leveraging everything that AI has to offer. I think that's important.
All right. So I understand for what you say is that the industry is actually adopting it, but what's the pace? Is it going fast? Is it going slow? And what type of AI?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think, let's say, the pace or the rate at which pilots and AI initiatives are starting and are growing is quite important. So in the sense that people are testing, people are implementing projects, people are doing things that are, let's say, they are challenging what AI has to offer. But here, the when you look at the pace of initiatives that have the potential to really be sustainable in time in the manufacturing company, so to provide continuous value and not be just a isolated random pilot in some plant somewhere in the world, here is where the challenges start, and here is where everything that I was also talking about in the before, it really is important, because we know, and people are starting to realize that in order to implement an AI that is scalable, that really makes impact, you need to have well-governed quality data. This is key. And this is something that is a must. Without that, your AI is going to be having a very short path. So since quick wins are relatively easy to get, but this well-governed data is not available, we see that the first months with AI is very exciting and everyone wants to really do more and more and more. But then the frustration comes a little bit when it comes to, okay, what can we really do? What do we need to make to make those initiatives sustainable in time? And this is actually where we see that
Where
the
the she gets the
pace of
fun, right?
exactly, and that, let's say, slows down the pace of adoption.
All right. Okay. So in your opinion, why do so many initiatives struggle? Is it, as you said, a matter of they start very quickly because they get these quick wins doing some agents or like models that you could just deploy very quickly and I don't know, maybe using ChatGPT API or Claude API to browse your database or whatever, or your MCP server where you have some connection. I don't know. Is it because it's so easy to start, or is it because there's no? I don't know. What do you think they struggle? Or what's the real problem behind the fact that they stall? Because they do stall.
Yeah. It's true. I think one of the reasons, and probably what because, let's say, what we see typically as a consultancy company, the benefit that we have is that we see many initiatives and that we see many different realities, and then we can judge what is, let's say, happening the most. And the biggest challenge that I see is that the entry door for AI in companies is the C-level being amazed by a specific feature of AI, and this is happening now less and less. But in, let's say, 6 months in the past, 1 year in the past, it was a little bit more like this: that the C-level is so amazed by something that they have seen and that they have realized from AI that they want to have it in their plan and they want to have it yesterday. And this is a challenge because then the let's say what companies are trying to do is based on, okay, this technology is so cool, let's see where we can apply it to get a benefit. And it's not on, okay, let's
It's like
identify.
that meme where the CEO comes and says, we want AI, and everyone asks, what for, right? And there's a silence, and then he continues saying, we want AI. It's like, yeah, I mean, it reminds me of that saying that when you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail, right? It's the same sort of thing.
No, it's like this. Exactly. It's like this, and that's actually the challenge that the organizations have, that we that need to achieve, and we need to explain them that this that they are seeing in a 5 minutes video done by I don't know who is
By
it
AI,
takes
probably.
yeah, with AI, with AI, of course, but yeah, with some vendor or with some technology, actually has much more in the back, and probably this 5 minutes video would not stand 10 minutes of or maybe an hour in the plan. So here is where we have the challenge to really explain everything that is behind that, and how they need, what are the steps that they need to go through to really implement AI effectively. And in my opinion, the way of landing on AI to solve a challenge should not be, okay, I have a specific, I want to prove that this technology is useful. Rather, it should be, okay, I have a challenge that I cannot solve with other tools. Let's see if I can solve this challenge with AI, because my company needs to solve the challenge, not because I want to show how cool AI is. That's a little bit how it should go, as I see it.
All right, so let's start by the challenge rather than with the technology. So, okay, that's interesting. Before we carry on, I want us to say this is a live show. So if you have any questions that you would like to make to Ricard, just drop them into the Q&A section of Zoom. We're going to be picking some of them up, a couple of them probably at the end of the show, and making them to Ricard. Don't be too hard on him, right? So try to make easy to answer questions, but just drop anything in there. All right, let's speak about data.
I will try my best, Alex.
Okay, I will filter them out for you. Don't worry. Yeah, so let's speak about data. What are the most common data challenges that you find? Because one thing is, obviously you have to start with a challenge that you want to solve, with the problem that you want to solve. So you have the problem, you have the technology, and then data is like the raw material. So what do you see happening in terms of data in the industrial environment?
Mm-hmm. So first thing is, now we are actually, many state that Gen AI started what is or what will be known as Industry 5.0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. But I think, we can recognize that we are not yet in Industry 4.0. We are, and in many manufacturing companies, we're actually quite far from Industry 4.0. Yeah. And how I see it, how we see it, what Industry 4.0 is making decisions based on indicators that come from cold data. So when a company is not in Industry 4.0, the decision makers, and actually the people that need to make decisions, especially on the floor, they take those decisions based on experience. They take those decisions based on gut feeling. They take those decisions based on the knowledge from the past, the input from colleagues, and not based on specific indicators coming from data that are, let's say, cold, and that you can, it's a no-brainer, the decision that you do need to make, because the data is telling you that. And this is the challenge, that many of the digital applications that today we have in manufacturing, they were implemented in the field, actually, by the specific requirement of a specific time, and not looking at the big picture. And at the beginning, that was fine. But now, since the number of digital applications are growing in plants, it makes it much more difficult to, let's say, naturally send data from application to application and to use a common data model and cross the whole application landscape. And this is the challenge. This is what makes AI implementation a big challenge with regards to data. Since there is no enterprise data model, since there is not even in a single plan, we have a full data model covering all the data that is generated and governing well all the data that is generated. And since we don't have a single source of truth of the data, it's very challenging for AI to naturally understand what data it needs to use and the context of that data to make predictions or to make inferences, to suggest actions that you can really trust. Because if the data the AI used to make those predictions, to propose those actions is not well governed, then you cannot really rely on those. So this is actually the biggest challenge that we have. And let me add something else here, because the more advanced when you go to a company, and if it's a big manufacturing company, you see that when you have, there are some plants that are what they call the digital lighthouses. So because in that plan there has been many investment and people have been putting a lot of effort to really digitalize, and everything is much more advanced. But these are typically the most challenging plans for AI, because since there are many different applications and data is so scattered, it's very difficult to really govern that data, because the level of complexity is much higher. And this is also a challenge that needs to be accounted for.
All right. Okay, let's speak about use cases, real world use cases. How do you? I mean, you spoke about a while ago that you should detect a challenge rather than just try to use AI for everything. So how do you choose the right first implementation, right? So the right use case to start with, because obviously the first one is going to take longer. You have many things to learn. So how do you go about choosing something that makes your life easier rather than a nightmare?
Yeah, I mean, there are many variables, many parameters that play a role here, but I think it's important first to identify what are the needs. As I said, right? Okay, what exactly do you need to do? What are the challenges that you need to solve that are really, slowing you down, and that are not really that you really need to solve? And then from there, once you have identified the challenges, is when you need to go to the next step and say, okay, for that challenge, to solve that challenge, probably with AI, what data do I have? Do I have large quantities of quality data? Not large quantities of data, large quantities of quality data. Is this data well governed? Is this data well contextualized? If the answer is yes,
The
and there
answer is
is
no, usually, right?
usually it's no, but okay, then let's work on making it quality data. If it's large data, it's easy, because then you need to only make it quality data, and then it's relatively easy. I don't want to say it's super easy, but it's relatively easy. But okay, if the answer is yes, and I've said at the beginning, we have seen many occasions where the answer is yes, then is when you need to start looking at, okay, if I apply AI here, what is going to be the return on investment? Does it really make sense to really go for the AI, or can I solve this with advanced analytics? Because maybe you don't
That's
need
a fair
AI
point.
for that.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit the things that you need to take into account.
All right. What's the use case that you see implemented the most?
Successfully.
Yes. I will ask again unsuccessfully, but yes, successfully.
Yeah, I think many use cases related with predictive maintenance, condition-based maintenance, anomaly detection to identify when there's going to be a problem in an equipment. These are use cases that I see that when I see them implemented, that when we have implemented them, they are quite, there are relative quick wins, because there is not that much data that you need in order to do those use
This
cases.
is what we call classic AI at the beginning, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, we can go more into details on generative AI, AI agents, foundational models.
Which ones do you see most of the times not successfully implemented?
Yeah, the chatbot that will generate any dashboard from uncontextualized
All right.
data.
So
That's the
like the
typical
wet
one.
dream of every CEO, right? Which is a magic
Yeah,
dashboard that does everything for you that you could have a chat with before you go to bed, right? So you could
exactly.
ask, "Hey, is everything all right in my plant?" And he would say, "Yes, don't worry, everything's fine," right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, because this is what I was, sorry, Alex. It's what I was explaining at the beginning, that it's relatively easy to show it and in a 5 minutes demo see display and show to yeah to manufacturing companies how easy it is to build it. And then when you really go to actually trying to implement it, there are many barriers that are, let's say, technical barriers and also fundamental barriers, but also when you come to the infrastructure, when you come to the cybersecurity, yeah, there are challenges here to tackle when you want to do
Would
this
you
kind of.
say that kind of use case is overrated, maybe, or overhyped?
I think the promise is fair, and the technical, generative AI models are capable. The large language models are capable of doing that. But how they are presented, yes, they are a little bit
All right.
overrated.
And in your opinion, which use case could be an underrated use case?
Actually, I think there are many, but if you think of any machine learning, even a deep learning like a neural network based use case that can be applied on top of an industrial process that is quite repetitive, that is automated, and where you have this process or this part of the process that is not super optimized, this is a golden mine for AI, because you have, since it's automated and it's, let's say, systematically doing similar action, you have repetitive data, plenty of data, and it's relatively easy to generate quality data from those environments, from those systems. Then you have models that are good at learning patterns of what happened in the past and apply it to new data. And you also, these models are self-explainable, so you can't really know why this prediction that your AI gives to you, what is the cause for this prediction to be generated. And if on top of that, this part of the process is not super focused, and there is not, let's say, a lot of effort from the company put there on, let's say, by other means optimizing that, then probably there is quite some room for improvement there. So I think this is definitely the one.
All right. Okay, we're going to speak about agents now. But first, I'd like to remember to our listeners that this is a live podcast, so you could just drop your questions onto a Q&A section. We're going to pick some of them, the most difficult ones, because we want to challenge Ricard, so he could give the proper answers to us. All right, let's speak about agents. Do you believe in agents?
Yes. From a technical point of view, yes, but there are challenges, of course, that need to be tackled when you are thinking of an AI agent automatically acting on your plan, or at least, let's say, providing useful reports on what happens in your plans. I've seen, and we have executed some projects with AI agents, but there are mainly two things that we need to consider or take into account when trying to implement generative AI in manufacturing plants. First thing, critical thing, is that Gen AI by default, by definition, is not deterministic. That's the challenge for manufacturing, where we need in
To
many
give you
processes.
two different answers to the same question, right?
Yeah, and that's not a problem when you are trying to identify what is the root cause of an anomaly. When you are trying to combine 3, 4 agents working in parallel to identify why you are having a problem in a motor, or why you are getting a temperature that is higher than expected. It's not a problem, because they will generate probably a report, a one-pager, and then someone will read and will be able to extract conclusions much faster. But if you need to do something that is much more related with computing or with mathematics, and you really need to have a systematically answer that with the same conditions will also give you the same output or a very similar output, then AI agents are not your tool in general.
All
And
right.
also, to go to the second topic or the second aspect to take into account and to consider is that they are they can hallucinate.
Yeah,
You need to
I
take
was
this
going to
into
ask you
account.
that actually. What about hallucinations? Yeah.
It's a thing. I mean, when you have humans acting on processes, it's not guaranteed that you will not have, yeah, the word is not hallucination, then it's mistakes, but you will also have mistakes. And I think that the natural evolution is that Gen AI will be, the number of hallucinations will be reduced. And if you have multiple agents, let's say, validating the word of each other, then the number of hallucinations in the long term will be reduced. But it's something that you need to account for when you are thinking
Yeah.
of implementing, generative AI in production. So there are ways. If I'm thinking of a typical Gen AI use case, we have mentioned already the generating of reports to detect anomalies, to detect things that happen in your plan that are abnormal. Then if you're also, I don't know, creating a chatbot that is trying to, let's say, to explain to someone who's new in the company how to do specific things, you can also ask the AI. You can have an AI agent that is responsible of identifying what is the source, so that that person do not only get the answer on the question he or she made, but also the source, so that you can really be sure when you need to take an action based on that you are not only doing what the AI agent is telling you to do, but what the actual source, and you can access that source much more easily, much faster, because you have the agent pointing out at this source. So I'm not trying to kill AI agents here, but there are challenges that need to be
Yeah,
accounted
I was
for.
gonna ask. Maybe you've already said it, but what are the barriers that you think agentic AI will find in OT environments? Because we know OT is it's its own turf. It's a complicated place to bring new tech, which is understandable, especially when you deal with critical stuff. So, what do you think are what are the hurdles that agentic AI is going to find?
Mm-hmm. I think if you, let's say, when we were discussing in general with AI, and I was maybe focusing a little bit more on classical AI, machine learning, deep learning, the same barriers apply. The absence of an enterprise data model, the absence of a single source of truth, the absence of well-governed data. But then here also, the infrastructure is important, because where do you want to host your models? Do you want to host them on the cloud? So then you are sharing your data with the cloud, and probably with the providers of this Gen AI, of the large language model, because few companies will be developing their own large language model. So
Yeah.
infrastructure is really something that needs to be considered, taken into account. And also, if you want to run them on premise, fully on premise, the infrastructure and the investment that you need to do beforehand in order to have the infrastructure to really support that implementation is huge. So this is something that also needs to be considered. And then, going back to the example of the chatbot that is let's say, answering based on some documents that you have in the back, are you really, are you sure that the content that you have in all of these documents is up to date, and that when there is a change, the source where this Gen AI model is going to be taking the information from is systematically updated every time there is a change? So these are challenges that also need to be accounted for when looking at Gen AI performance.
All right. When it comes to autonomy, how much autonomy? How many autonomy? How much? How many? I don't know if autonomy is. How much autonomy are we willing to give an agent? Because if I am an OT operator, how much of my job I would be willing to give to one of these automated tasks?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when it goes to AI agents, to generative AI, maybe I would be a little bit more restrictive here. But when it comes to other AI methods that are more deterministic, we have seen many different scenarios. In some scenarios, it's obvious that you want to have just a notification, and then the output of the AI just appears as a notification uh, anywhere the stakeholder is also receiving that notification, like SCADA screen if it's an operator, the I don't know, there are many, the Power BI screen if it's a manager. So that I mean, you can always have the output of the AI just generate a notification, and then based on that notification, the person will be the responsible to act. And this also gives you the opportunity, and this is something that we have experimented in real use cases that we have implemented, that during the first year or months, you have the AI generating notifications, and then based on that notification, the person will act. And then over time, the confidence of the person that actually needs to activate or to do an action after AI gives that notification grows and grows and grows, because they see that when it makes a mistake, the mistakes are few in many cases, and also that this mistake, if it's applied, would not be like a big thing that would have happen to be undiscovered in the long term and would cause a big issue. So that depends on the use case, but we have seen many times in which we implement an AI model, it stays just creating notifications, and the human does the action for 6 months, for 8 months, for a year, and then after that time, they are confident enough. Sometimes they are not, but many times they are confident enough to actually say, okay, the AI agent can, whenever, I don't know, makes a prediction, activate the systems, the PLC, the actual shop floor,
Like having a
to make the
trainee,
action.
right? It's like having a trainee. You have it 6 months under your wing, and then you let it fly.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, the rationale is the same. And actually, when we're talking about AI, one of the beauty of it is that there is one technical concept, which is reinforcement learning, or improving, which actually means that you have a first model that is capable of, that is good enough to maybe go in production, and you know that as it keeps making predictions in real time, the performance of it in the long term will improve. Of course, it will eventually reach a plateau, but since you can implement methods in which, when the AI does well, you give it kind of a price, and when it does bad, you kind of, I don't know, you say this is, you give like a penalty to the AI. Then with time, the performance of the AI will improve, and we have seen it in real implementations where very quickly an AI model implemented in a plant that where the goal was to save a specific utility, steam in that case. We started with the implementation saving 30% of the amount of that utility use, of the steam used in the process, and then after 2 years we are at more than 42% savings every month. So you see that then this 12%, and it was growing and growing and growing until it reached a plateau, but
That's
there is
good.
room for improvement
Yeah,
always. Yeah.
that's nice. I'm sure that's a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
Well,
Money,
Ricard.
yeah. It
Yeah.
was enough for the management to approve the use case being implemented. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Ricard. We have some questions from the listeners. So, are you ready for them?
Let's see.
Okay. So, I heard you talk before about lacking single source of truth in factories. What's your view on unified namespace as a foundation for AI? Is it easy?
Well, yeah, because that's actually one of the, I would say, the main enabler of AI manufacturing today, because it does not only, if you implement it well, it does not only ensure that you.
Hasn't it become a kind of a buzzword, the UNS thing? Because I hear it a lot.
Yeah.
There's lots of theories around. You should do this. Then the context is the new frontier, or I don't know. Knowledge graphs is the next frontier. So UNS is useless without a knowledge graph. I don't know. I've heard loads of things. What do you think?
I mean, it actually depends on what you want to achieve. In the end, let's say, how much context do you need for your, not only your AI models, but for your data to bring value to your organization. Of course, the more the better. But maybe knowledge graphs can be, and I like knowledge graphs, but sometimes it can be an overkill.
All right. So you're one of those.
Well, it depends, and I know
I'm fine. I don't even know what a knowledge graph is, so I'm fine.
No, I mean, I think they are very promising, and we have done some in our research and development department. We have done some nice investigations, and we have some people that are growing their skills on knowledge graphs. And one of the, let's say, one of the, as I said, it's important to have an enterprise data model, but this enterprise data model can cover all the tiny details, or it can be, let's say, you need to grow it with time. And if you go directly from day zero to the knowledge graph, okay, yeah, maybe it's what you need. I'm not saying it's not the case, but it might be that with the unified namespace and the degree of context that you have there and the relationship between the different topics and namespaces, you can already cover the use cases that you're trying to solve. So that depends a little bit on the scenario.
All right. We have another question, Ricard. You mentioned earlier about AI having the right context. How important is context when working with operational data, and why?
Yeah, well, that's a difficult one, in the sense that it's obvious that it's important, and we have been saying that it's important, and without context, I mean, in the end, when you really need to learn patterns, and because actually AI is about that, it's about learning patterns, and then from the patterns that you have learned with data, and it goes far beyond classical AI, which is directly this. But then when you go to large language model, it's the same. It's knowing about, okay, what is the most probabilistic word that I need to generate next to make sense with what I have been asked. So that context, so the more context that you have, the better for your AI models, because it will take into account more parameters to make that prediction. There is one thing here that is important to also consider, which is when you bring in context, when you bring in more variables, when you bring in more data, a lot of observations is good, but a lot of parameters can be an overkill again, because then what can happen is that you're adding noise. And if you have a model that relies on 10 parameters, it's relatively easy that those 10 parameters are controlled, and that you know that these parameters are consistently sending data to your AI model. But if one of the parameters is failing, then you might have an issue and your AI model is not working. So if you have 100 parameters that,
Yeah,
let's say, a model
more
that
things
depends
to
on
fail,
100,
right? More parameters, more
exactly,
things to fail. Yeah.
more things that can go wrong. So it's always a trade-off, and you need to find the right amount of context that is required.
Okay. All right. I think we don't have more time for questions, so I'm going to jump onto the closing questions that I have for you.
Okay.
So the first one, which is a question that we make all of our guests. You the second one, right? So it's not like we have a huge tradition, but it will become a huge tradition, which is, if you were left on a desert island and you could only take one tool, and when I say tool, I mean a piece of hardware, piece of software, a screwdriver, anything, but you can't say Barbara, right? Which one would you take?
That's the most difficult question of the session. um,
That thing that you can't live without.
I think today, and yeah, we can, when we were introducing the concept of the unified namespace and what it actually means, one key component for it to work, and for AI to really work, is what is today called as the industrial data ops. And there are many companies, and there are more and more that are, let's say, growing in that direction, and they're providing very nice industrial data ops. But it's like the orchestrator of everything, in the sense, not the orchestration of the different applications, but the orchestration of the data, and
The
how you
data.
connect the different data pieces between each other. It's like the glue that you need to make everything, to orchestrate everything. And without that, I think AI in production, scalable AI in production, will be highly challenged. So I
Okay,
would take
let me
that
tell you
one.
something. The previous guest also said
Really?
data ops platforms. Yes, he named two of them in particular, but yes, the same concept. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
It's important. We know it's important, because I
yeah,
didn't
no,
know, to
apparently
be
it is.
honest. So.
Yes. All right. So now let's go to the final piece of advice. If you were to give a piece of advice to someone who's starting, or just think of yourself when you were starting off on AI, what would you like that someone had told you, just to not make that mistake, or to not go down that path, and to later realize that that wasn't the right path to go? So what would be your advice to someone starting now in industrial AI?
That's an advice for someone starting, let's say, from maybe, the technical perspective, like a super junior person that has joined a company and he or she is supposed to do AI, but also to the if I may, to the people that from high level, from high management are trying to push AI in the organization, and it could be go slow. Go slow in the sense of do not focus on which model, and I'm saying large language model, deep learning model, machine learning model you're using, and what are the parameters, but focus on how you can actually maximize the impact. And this is typically much more on really understanding the manufacturing context. In that case, we come back to the context that we were discussing. Involve from day one, as much as possible, all the relevant stakeholders and understand very well what they need from the AI model to match expectations. Understand the behavior of the systems that are producing that data, because you really need to know. The more you know your data, the better your models will be. So you definitely need to understand your data, and how the path that this data is making to your before it reaches the AI, and how to orchestrate all that data for your models to run, to be capable of running in the long term is critical. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Not focus on the technology. Typically, it's much more the data and the governance of the data, because with technology, maybe instead of using that model, maybe you can use that one and you will increase by 1% the performance. But if you really focus on that data and you have quality data and you govern that data well, then you have maybe 25-30% of gain, of potential gain, and also something that will work in the long term. So this is definitely what you want to focus on. That's my piece of advice.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. I have the feeling that this session has gone by very, very quickly. There's many other things I would like to ask and discuss with you, but we've reached the end. So thank you a lot for being with us. It's been a really interesting conversation, and thank you, man.
Thanks, Alex. It has been a pleasure from my side to be here. Thanks to the whole Barbara team for the opportunity, and looking forward to the next AI challenges.
Good luck with that. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, and to everyone who's been listening, if you have learned some little tiny thing today, then we are happy. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time in the field.